Okay, welcome everyone to the Platonic Academy of Melbourne. This is 2026. We're in our summer term and we're presenting myths. And this is our first week of myths, which is an introduction, and we will read also one of the myths as well. So, my name's Bernie Lewin. I'm one of the founders of the Platonic Academy of Melbourne, and this course is being coordinated by Effie. I'm giving her a hand with a few of the myths as well as we go. So, for those people who haven't done anything with the Academy before, we've set ourselves up to read Plato, to promote Plato and Platonism and the reading of Plato. So we often just read dialogues. We read through the dialogue, a particular dialogue that Plato's written, and it's like a very wordy play, and we'll read it in 6 parts. That's what we often do. This course is unusual because what we've done is we've found all these myths in Plato's dialogues. He'll slip in and say, "Let me tell you a story," and we've pulled all those out, and we've done a course where we just reading the myths. So it's really fascinating to read just the myths and sort of think, well, what's he doing? Why is he telling these stories? And we'll get right into that in this course. So that's what this course is about. And so what we generally do is Effie or myself will give a bit of a talk, talk through how we've read the myth, and then we'll have a discussion of it and the issues involved, and then another talk again, and or maybe another myth, and then discuss that one as well. This week will be a little bit different because Effie's going to give a bit of a general introduction to the idea of myths. Where do they come from? What are they all about? How do they connect with myths? Not only Plato's myths, but also the myths in the Greek tradition and the myths in the other traditions, and so on. So that's how we're going to start, and then we will discuss our first myth in the second half of the class. So actually, for this recording, those people watching this recording, this recording will give the first part of week one, because we forgot to press record on the when we were doing the class. So this will just be part one, and then you'll go back to the resources page and you'll find part two. So so Zoom link stays the same all the time. We did send an incorrect Zoom link in an earlier email, that went out before the course started. So do look on the resources page or in the latest email for the correct Zoom link. Now, the resources page will be in the email that you've got. If you haven't got the welcome email, then or the email follow up to week one, then contact us, but get the link to the resources page. The resources page is a hidden page, so you need to save that link, and everything's there. The Zoom link's there, and also the catch-up recordings, as in this one that you're seeing now. So you've probably found the resources page, or at least got to it through the emails. Um, Now, the readings for this course, we do give the standard page numbers in the dialogues that the readings are taken from, that the myths are found. So you can go into the dialogues, find them by the standard page numbers that we give, or you can just choose the chapters. We also mention the chapters. So that reading is on the outline page, which is linked from the resources page. It's the main public page for the course. So each week it'll tell you what chapters or what standard page numbers in the dialogues they are. And also, if you look on the outline page, you can see where you can access all of the dialogues for free online if you want to do that. We think it's good to grab the book. We think it's good, you can make little notes and things like that. But if you want to do it all online, you want to find those pages, then you can find them. So that's all completely up to you. Now, I think that's all I need to say. Effie, is that all I need to say before I hand over to you and you
I think
introduce
so.
Plato? All right. So I'm going to hand over to Effie now, and she's going to Oh, no, I've got some housekeeping announcements or some advertising. So that is, we're also running another course at the moment in this term. They're 6-week courses. On Thursday nights, we're running this course. On Tuesday nights, we're reading the Gorgias, which is an introductory course. It's quite an easy dialogue to read, and it's not so heavily philosophical that we say, well, beginners can come along if they want to. So that's for beginners and for continuing students. And also this term, we've got a very special class, which is on Saturday, the 28th. It's at the Kathleen Syme Centre in Faraday Street. And it's all day Saturday, starting 10:30, I think, at a reasonable time. And we are introducing Islamic tile design. So if people are into geometry, what's geometry got to do with philosophy? Well, if you've done a bit of Plato, you'll know it's got a lot to do with philosophy. Plato sees geometry as a gateway to the mystic, the gateway to the forms. What are the forms? We'll find out. So we're doing that on the 28th of Saturday, the 28th of February. And if you haven't done any geometry before, then contact us and we can give you a bit of an intro. But then in the next term, in our autumn term, starting in April, we've got a full introductory 6 weeks course for geometry. So if you've never used compass and ruler, that's a good one to do. If you're really keen to do the Islamic design, then contact us and we'll give you a little introduction to how to use your compass and ruler before we start that course. Okay, thanks everyone. I've taken enough of Effie's time now. So over to you, Effie.
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Effie. I'm very excited to be sharing this course with you. We're going to actually look at 10 of Plato's myths that are spread across various dialogues. Um, I started learning about the Platonic myths within the Academy, and I find them fascinating. As I read them, a new world started to emerge, a spiritual understanding of the world. I began to contemplate them often. I became absorbed in them and realized that they are quite powerful tools that can guide our soul. My goal is to enthuse you all with these myths and to provide a framework, one of many, that you can interpret the myths with. In this beginner's course, we will start with tonight's introduction. I'm going to share screen. Bear with me. Okay, here we are. Um, we're going to look at timeline, Plato in history and time. What was Plato's intention? Why did he write myths? We'll spend some time looking at what are myths? What are the functions of myths? And why did Plato use logos and myths? And in the second half, and in the second video, will be the judgment of souls. Okay, our objective in this first half of tonight's lecture is to understand a little bit about Plato himself. When did he write, and what is the environment in which he wrote? We will also consider why Plato wrote. What were his objectives? Oh, I've done that. Sorry, mate. I don't know what we're going to do. Do you want to go back? I reread. Are you there, Bernie?
Yes, what's wrong?
Yeah. I reread the same thing. I just
That's all
got.
right. Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Go,
matter.
go back. Go
No
back.
one will
No, no.
mind. No
Can't
one
you?
will.
Can't you actually just pause it and go back a bit?
I don't know how to do all that. If it's okay, it's just for recording. It's only our students. It's fine. Just keep going.
Okay. Let's talk about Plato. Born in 427 before Christ to an aristocratic Greek family, Plato became a prominent figure in classical Greek philosophy. He is famous for writing numerous dialogues, which gives Socrates a protagonist role, discussing a wide range of topics such as ethics, politics, epistemology, mathematics, geometry, and metaphysics. Embedded in these are the Platonic myths. During this time in Greek history, there was a distinct era of myth making. It was a thing then. First, we have Homer and Hesiod. With them, a distinct generation of gods began to exist. Shifting away from chaos, we enter the realm of the 12 gods, and with them, the rule of Zeus. Order in the universe begins to emerge. These myths of the gods continued for centuries. As myths do, though, they transformed. Some details of the old myths ignored, others replaced, yet others lived on intact. In Hesiod's Work and Days, written in the 8th century, he speaks of the 5 ages of men: the golden, the silver, the bronze, and hero races. And the last one, the one we are apparently in now, the Iron Age. These are distinct periods. This myth transforms in the hands of Plato some 300 to 400 years later. In the Republic, Socrates presents a myth using the same metals, but in a different manner. Instead of different metal periods, each individual in the city-state is portrayed as having a specific metal in them. Those naturally suited to be rulers have gold. Those suited to be guardians have silver. And those suited for farming and the other crafts have bronze. Further, Hesiod's story is mirrored in other cultures. In the Hindu cosmology, written about 1000 BCE, we find a myth similar to Hesiod's. You can see that Hindu cosmology separates into 4 different ages, the Kali Yuga being very similar to the Iron Age, and the Krita being very similar to the Golden Age. It doesn't have a heroic age. You can find such mirroring and transformation of myths over and over in history. This slide is titled A Human Timeline of Mythology and Religion. This diagram is a mere introduction as to where the Greek myths and the Platonic myths fit into the bigger picture. This is just one person's view of the interrelatedness of mythology, philosophy, and religion across time and space. Different people have made divisions and connections in different times and places. In this timeline, we don't see a link between ancient Greek and Egyptian. Some could argue that the link between the Greek and Egyptian is more direct than shown here. Certainly, in the Platonic myth of Atlantis, Plato creates such a myth. The Platonic Academy runs a course called Christianity and Platonism, which shows links between Christianity and Platonism that again is not reflected in this diagram. So my point is, myths are not static. They move like the wind across time and space, changing a little here and more there. Myths don't live in isolation, but are interwoven stories, philosophies, and religions. Plato, in his time, had access to the ancient Greek myths produced by Homer and Hesiod, presumably access to the mystery cults, the Egyptian and the Mesopotamian myths, and most likely even Buddhist and Hindu thought. He also had access to Greek philosophical thought that was emerging in that period. Whether Plato created his myth himself from a deep meditation, accessing his subconscious mind, whether he copy and pasted old, now lost myths, changed myths, or simply created them using his logic and aiming to use them as a tool, is unknown. I propose that perhaps it's a little bit of everything. Now, why did Plato write his dialogues and the myths embedded in them? What were his goals? We can assume that Plato wrote myths for the same reason he wrote dialogue and used the logos. He wanted to achieve something. But what is that something? His goals were, firstly, education. Plato's work, through Socrates' voice, aims to educate the youth on how to think, not what to think. We do not really educate our youth like this today or then. We tend to educate in facts and knowledge. This was a problem for Plato. Plato also wanted us to turn the mind's eye around and to understand our own understanding. That is, to be able to assess ourselves and how we think. Plato wanted to ensure our beliefs are properly formed, to question our understanding and our divisions and relationships. Plato achieved this by thought-provoking questioning. When you use the term beauty, justice, etc., are you using the words to their correct and full meaning? Do you really understand what you are saying? More, more importantly, Plato wanted us to focus on soul, not body, to raise our viewpoint to a higher level, to understand the hierarchical ordered universe within which we live, and to unite our soul with the ultimate nature of the one good. To expand on this last goal, which I believe is the ultimate Platonic goal, I want to introduce you to my favorite Platonist, Pierre Grimes. Grimes founded the Noetic Society in 1967 for the study of dialogue and dialectic. He also headed the philosophical midwifery program. Midwifery, of course, referring to Socrates' concept of midwifery, the birthing of the mind, and not a baby. He was a pioneering figure in philosophical counseling. He really focuses on the Platonic goals in a spiritual sense. That is, he views Platonic works as guides to achieve divinity, or as he calls it, divine luminosity, pure light. Here he is on the top left-hand corner with his infamous blackboard behind him. Grimes claims all Greek metaphysics is nothing more than this triangle. By metaphysics, he means a study of ultimate reality, beyond physics, metaphysics. Everything in the universe starts off with the nature of the one, the good, the ultimate. It is that which beyond it nothing can be said. So we start with the one, but what is the nature of the one? Well, the good, is fundamentally derived by three essences. There is three parts to it. It is one with three parts. Being, isness. By being, we mean the purest existence, being with one. Power, which is also vitality, and intellect, nous, mindfulness. These three aspects of the one are fundamental because it holds the knowledge for the profound spiritual experience of illumination. Using the metaphysical understanding, we go beyond the physical world, there where there is no boundaries, no up and down, pure illumination, pure light. The Buddhists call this nirvana. Having recognized this illuminated state, Plato wanted to analyze it and transfer it onto other realms. Reflection. It gets a little bit hairy from here, so we're going to keep it simple. Each essence splits into three essences identical to the main. So here we have being. You can ask, what is being? We have being of being, power of being, and mindfulness of being. What is the being of being? What is the power of being? What is the intellect of being? Well, they can all be split up as well. According to Grimes, within Plato's dialogues, these concepts are broken down or raised up in order. So you can go down and have being of being of being, or you can bring it up closer to the one. These concepts are broken down or raised up in order to seek complete realization of being, power, and intellect that is the good. But as we go down the hierarchical order, things become confusing. You can't keep track when you're talking of being, of being, of being, or the power of being and being. To simplify matters, Grimes suggests that we begin to personify the concept of these essences and give them identities. Now, Grimes says, when we talk about the being of intellect, that is personified by the figure Kronos. For example, we can say Kronos, the father, Rhea, the mother, and Zeus, the child. Then you can have fun and break Zeus down. By Zeus, say Zeus can be broken down further to a new category: Poseidon, Hades, or Zeus 2, the brother Zeus, or Zeus's children, Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus. For those that have had the chance to read this evening's myths, The Judgment of Souls, you can see how this is a little segue into the myth, where these characters may have a deeper meaning. Zeus may not mean Zeus, but might mean something deeper, something that relates back to this metaphysical triangle of the good. We might leave this theme here now and pick it up later. But to summarize, Plato believes the physical world is not the real world, but ultimate reality exists beyond our physical world. Our reality is an imperfect reflection of the perfect ideal forms. His goal was to teach us a method of reflecting and evaluating our thoughts and knowledge to turn the mind's eye, the soul, upwards to the good and to experience divinity. Personification of the gods we use as a tool. These Platonic goals will hopefully become alive for us as we move through the myths. Now I want to talk about myths. What are myths? Usually when we ask the question, what is myth? We find ourselves in the same predicament that Socrates had when he asked, what is justice? While asking his students, what is justice? Socrates realized that people were giving an example of justice rather than a definition. Similarly with myths, when we ask what is a myth, some might say it's the story of Zeus and the other Olympians, the story of Rama and Sita or King Arthur, or the stories of the First Nation people shared before the English. Some might say the Old Testament is a myth. All of these are mere examples of myths. They do not tell us what myth actually is. Let me start with the definition of myth from Wikipedia. Myth is a genre of folklore consisting primarily of narratives and play a fundamental role in society. Myths are stories of our search through the ages for truth, for meaning, for significance. Myths are clues to the spiritual potentialities of human life. That's Joseph Campbell. Dr. Stephen Costello. Through myths, we touch the eternal. Myths bring messages. They are stories about the wisdom of life. Mythology is the song of the imagination. Because philosophy arises from awe, a philosopher is bound in his way to be a lover of myths and poetic fables. Poets and philosophers are alike in being big with wonder. Myth is the penultimate truth because the ultimate cannot be put into words. This last quote is trying to express something akin to Platonic forms. That is, there are forms beyond the physical world, ideals, if you will, that are perfect, and that within this physical world, we can only aim towards these ideals. The four functions of myths. To help us explore this subject, we turn to Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was an American scholar of literature, analyst of mythology, and comparative religion. In his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, written in 1949, he outlines his concept of a monomyth, that is, a formula and function of myth that are common across myths, a template which myths follow throughout historical time and place. According to Campbell, myths have four functions: the mystical or metaphysical function. This inspires in the individual a sense of awe or gratitude in relation to the mystery, the metaphysical dimension of the universe. Myths must awaken our sense of wonder. They must dazzle us. It gives us some understanding of that part of the universe we cannot quite grasp. Even today, with modern science, what is it that underlies all forms? The cosmological function presents an image. Myths present an image of the universe, that mystery in the cosmos, to explain the cosmos and our place in it, thus linking us to the universe. It describes all the parts of the cosmos as an orderly whole and how they all fit together and how we also fit in it. The sociological function establishes social and political norms. What is acceptable human behavior? It validates, supports, and imprints on the individual the norms of society, the laws of society, for example. The psychological function serves to guide each individual through the stages of life within the context of their culture. Myths teach us how to live well. In regards to these four functions, I will propose that Plato's myths focused on all four. We can check this as we read the myths. However, the first two are significantly different to the last two. In my opinion, the main function of Platonic myths were the first two functions, the mystical and the cosmological. The last two functions are necessary as preconditions. This is supported in the Republic. After establishing that the function of eyes is to see, this is 353b, Plato asks, would eyes ever be able to perform their proper function if they were not in a good condition? And then it goes on at 353d. Will a soul ever perform its proper function if it's not in the state it's appropriate for it to be in? The last two functions prepare the soul to perform its function, the first two functions. For Plato, functions of the soul are intertwined with the healthy state of the soul, the good condition of the soul in order to achieve its function. We said earlier that Plato used logos and myth to achieve his goals. We already have a definition of myth. We just need a few words on logos. Since the evolution of language itself, humans have been passing information along from one generation to the next through storytelling. The world they saw and the unseen world was explained by myths. In most of the world was a place of mystery, planned by the gods and beyond us. However, in the first millennium BC, a revolution took place, a philosophical revolution which occurred in ancient Greece. This philosophical revolution rejected the narrative-based understanding of the world for one rooted in a new way of thinking, a rational worldview, a shift from mythos to logos. This rational view believes that knowledge of the universe was possible through the tools of human observation. The Greeks reoriented their focus from the stories of the gods to an examination of nature itself. This move was grounded in a belief that there was an overall order to things, something that was lacking in the stories of the gods that acted on whim. We began to think without the interference of gods. This effectively set us on the path we are on in today. So here we have two circles, one being logos and myths, distinct tools in diagram 1. Plato uses both. Why? Well, without reason, without logos, myths can turn into dogma, and rather than liberating us, they entrap us. Further, reason without mythology also has the same effect. That also entraps our soul mind into dogma. Perhaps our goal is to unite these as much as possible. When we use both myth and logos, something magical happens. A third element is created in the middle. What happens in here? Is this middle area the union of the left and right brain? The left brain being the one working with myths and the right brain being the one working with logos. It is in this middle part where Plato wants to take us with his dialogues that can combine dialectics and mythology. Often scholars ask, didn't Plato criticize the myths? Didn't he consider mythological narratives as irrational and philosophical argument as rational? That is true. There are many instances where Plato criticizes myths and myth-making. For example, again in the Republic, Book 3, 387b, Socrates says, and we shall ask Homer and the other poets not to be angry if we strike out these verses and others like them, not because they are unpoetic or unpleasant for most people to hear, but because the more poetic they are, the less they should be heard by the young and by men who need to be free. So why does he then use them? Is he simply unable to persuade without them? And is he being hypocritical by criticizing this and then using them? I think the answer to this lies in what we mentioned earlier. Plato believed the physical world is not the real world, but ultimate reality exists beyond our physical world. Our reality is an imperfect reflection of the perfect ideal called forms. If ultimate reality exists beyond our physical world, how do we advance towards the true reality? By using just knowledge derived from human observation. I believe Plato combined myth and logos, and that we should look at things a little bit differently. Rather than dismissing myths, Plato drew a line right across myths and logos. He distinguished between myths that were good for the soul, allowing the soul to be lifted upwards to the ideal, the God, and bad myths that pull the soul downwards into the material, not real realm. So when he's criticizing myths, he's criticizing these bad myths. His myths are good myths that have a positive influence on the soul and raise it upwards. The split continues throughout the Logos. How often does Plato criticize the sophists, those that charm with their voice, just like Orpheus? In the Gorgias 459c, Socrates says, rhetoric is to politics what pastry making is to medicine, and what cosmetics are to gymnastics. All these activities are aimed at surface adornment, an impersonation of what is really good. So when Plato used dialectic, he had a positive influence again on the soul and the mind, and he did not use sophism, which had a negative influence on both the soul and the mind. That is the introduction. Now, I've just stressed the need to unite logos and myth, but in the course, we'll be looking at the Platonic myths only, and we'll only give brief summaries of the dialogues when needed. That's it, Bernie.
Okay, thanks, Effie. Do you want to stop the share screen? If
I
you can
do want to
manage that.
stop the share screen.
No, not the share in the PowerPoint, the share in
Yep, yep,
yep,
yep.
in Zoom. Yeah. Oh, okay, but anyway,
Okay.
we don't really need to do that. Um, yes,
Done.
that's it. Okay, and I will put it on gallery view. And well, thank you very much, Effie, for going through that all again. I know you've had a big day today, so you did very well re-recording that for us.
Thanks
So
for having me, Bernie. Thank you so much.
yeah, no worries. So anyway, we got hopefully, the people who missed the class on last Thursday will have been able to watch this, and they can move on then to part two, the video part two on the resources page. So check out your email, find that link if again, and save it. And you can watch part two there. And in part two, there's a bit of discussion and questions, and hopefully we got the mic to pick up most of that discussion. So you can pick that up as well. But otherwise, we will see you next week for two dialogues. Now, let me see if I can quickly bring them up. Two
The
dialogues,
two cosmic errors,
two cosmic errors, which is,
which is chapter 9 of our textbook,
yep,
and
and
the myth of Ur,
the myth
which
of Ur. So the myth of the famous myth of Ur from the Republic, Plato's famous Republic, is there as well. So you can get them in that Oxford selected myths of Plato, which we recommend you all buy. There was a copy at Readings last time I looked. if you want to, if you still haven't got it, or otherwise you can find it online or if you've got print versions of the dialogues, you can find them in there. So, okay, so hopefully everyone's getting into it now, and we're just going to go through two myths a week every week and have a lot of fun with those. So, is there anything else you want to say before I turn the recording off, Effie?
No, I'm happy to take questions on this introduction at the start of the next class if you
Next
have any.
class. Yeah,
Jot them
great.
down. Yeah.
Great idea. All right. Okay. So see you, Effie, and see you
Bye
everyone
bye.
on Thursday.